every time I say it.
If she says throat coat tea, I cannot help but say I've got a throat coat. Less soothing.
Quite. Okay, onward.
Here we are, Abe Cast Iron Balls, a podcast about sports that is thankful for sports.
Oh my God, so thankful.
My name is Bob, sitting across the way from my good friend and co-host. That's Abe. How you doing tonight, Abe?
Doing well, Bob.
Yeah, here we are. Lori is here too. How you doing tonight, Lori?
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Lori is so excited. Tonight is Wednesday, November 27th, 2024, coming to you on Thanksgiving, in all likelihood, if you're listening to this.
No one's going to listen to this on Thanksgiving.
Somebody's going to listen to it on Thanksgiving because they need...
You will.
They need to know what's happening in the world of college sport on Friday and Saturday.
They could probably save it
Play
for
it
Black
during
Friday.
the Thanksgiving meal. Just like, don't talk to each other.
I'll bet you there's a lot of people at home. They stick the earbuds in. There's too many family members
That's
around.
just you. It's still just you, but you already will have listened to this twice.
How many podcasters are so dedicated that they're out there putting out fresh content for the people on Thanksgiving Day? Not too many.
That is true.
I wouldn't think. Abe, even though it is a Wednesday night and there are no games, there's simply nothing to live bet. I'm going to have you live bet all of the Thanksgiving Day games, and this gives you a tremendous opportunity because you are sitting at 11-15 after last week's disastrous turn, going 0-2 once again.
Picked the wrong Harbaugh.
4 games under 500, but there's one college game on Thursday and 3 NFL games spread across the long Thanksgiving day. You have an opportunity to scratch your way all the way back to 500 if you can go 4-0. I don't like your chances, to be perfectly honest, but let's see what you got here. We got Memphis at Tulane. Tulane looks like they're going to be playing in the AAC championship against Army. Who you got, Memphis at Tulane?
So I think I had Memphis as the team coming out of the mid-majors or the G5.
Oh, did you really? At the beginning of the year? That was your G5 pick?
Apparently, that did not turn out. So you think I should turn my back to them, but I am a stubborn man. I'm going to stick with Memphis.
Stick with the double-digit underdog. You don't get any bonus points, you stupid son of a bitch.
I know the rules.
He's a man of principle. Stubborn and principled.
All right, Memphis. I will mark you down for Memphis. And then we've got, on Thanksgiving Day, of course, traditionally, the Lions always play on Thanksgiving. And this year, the Lions are hosting the Bears. Who you got?
The Lions. I mean, that team is great. They don't lose. They've lost once.
The G-Men play the Cowboys. Also a traditional Thanksgiving Day team. Usually, I feel like it's usually the Commies and the Cowboys.
It's always the Cowboys and then
usually
someone.
An NFC East team.
Yeah.
All right, so Giants traveling to Jerry World. Cowboys, of course, coming off a surprising big win against the Eagles. I don't know if you got a chance to watch. We talked about it in the last episode, but then I went and watched the fourth quarter of that game against the Commies. Yeah. Truly thrilling and ridiculous. And last week, who you got, Giants at the Cowboys?
Is that Danny DeVito still the quarterback for the Giants?
I believe that is not his name, but yes.
Danny DeVito is not going to win. I'm going to go with the Cowboys, whoever they have, Cooper Rush or whatever bum they have out there, Cowboys.
And then your nightcap on Thanksgiving night is Dolphins at the Green Bay Packers.
Ooh. Packers.
Going with the Packers. Going with 3 home teams in the NFL and the traveling Memphis team who's a double-digit dog.
Why do you keep mentioning this double-digit nonsense?
It's worth mentioning. What are your plans for the big day, Abe?
Just hanging out with the family. Somebody's hosting, one of my siblings. And
do you know which one yet? Or are you going to find out in the morning and then just be on your way?
Not even a joke. I'm going to, which house am I going to tomorrow? I'm going to wake up, I'm going to shoot the message, and I'll figure it out. But thankfully, everybody lives within 30 minutes of where I live, so it doesn't matter, really.
You should just take off and then just like, see where you end up. What are you bringing? Surely a man like you wouldn't be shy about bringing a good side dish or a dessert or maybe a nice bottle of wine to share.
Better question. What does your people eat on Thanksgiving?
So this is a funny thing. I'm going to answer Laura's question first, but there is like no turkey. There's nothing Thanksgiving about the Thanksgiving gathering. It's just an opportunity for people just to kind of get together because everybody's off. And then so the food is just whatever. Like my sister usually makes something. Like she always finds something to make, and then there's like something with rice. It's just like Somalian adjacent.
It's normal food.
Yeah. So that like if you walked in, if you were like you didn't know that it was Thanksgiving, you would just think it was just like a normal gathering of just a family.
But it's like a gathering.
Yeah. But there's no connection. I mean, the closest thing to Thanksgiving is that there'll be a TV showing the football games. That's the closest thing to Thanksgiving.
That works.
What is Somalian adjacent food?
So the Somalian adjacent food is Italian adjacent food. There's a lot of like spaghetti and whatever. It's very like I don't know what happened. I'm sure there's been some overlap with those Italians back in the day. Some sort of.
Oh yeah,
Chinese.
A lot of
spaghetti
Italian
is also
transplants to Mogadishu.
I think that some Italian government came and took over at some point. Oh. And
I didn't know that.
I mean, I'm assuming because the food is very similar, So
You've never bothered to look into this.
Yeah, this is the most I've thought about it.
I wonder if it's also possible that Abe does not know what Italian food is like.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, I'd be like the worst historian for Somalia. Just like I think this is what's happening. I don't know.
What is the meat? What is the general meat that you would be eating if you're having Somalian food?
It's like a meatball, kind of like beef, kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mostly beef. Is it tomato based? Is that why you're going with lots of tomato stuff?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, that's good. What I noticed you didn't answer my question.
So, to answer your question,
Abe's not a woman.
This is a long-standing tradition. When I go to family gatherings, I bring nothing but myself. I just show up, and that's what I'm going to do this Thanksgiving.
Well, good.
And no one's ever disappointed because, like, this guy's always good for nothing, and that's what I bring. Just be consistent.
Well, good. And I'm sure Uncle Abe is just a big fucking hit. No matter.
Oh yeah, just shoot the shit with the people, give them some conspiracy theory, and
Oh yeah, you're the one providing the conspiracy theories around
there
the
are
table?
some in the family that are into that, so you gotta supply them with if you heard about the latest, and they'll jump on it.
A font of disinformation. That's Abe.
That's right.
We're just going to be the four of us plus Lori's dad, relatively
My
low
dad's
key.
coming.
Oh, that's nice.
Low key Thanksgiving. Abe wanted to know why in the world you were already preparing food, given that it's just one meal and we're not going to eat it until considerably later in the day.
So I have many reasons for this, but before that, Bob's mom told us one year that the Hasidic Jewish women, but the Hasidic Jewish people think it's very funny what a big deal Americans make for Thanksgiving. And like, oh, I got to get all this food ready. Because they do this every fucking Friday after work.
Really? This is a weekly occasion?
Shabbat dinner is a massive deal every week. And they prepare a feast after they get home from their jobs on Friday.
What is
it is funny.
What's the gimmick? Like, is there a turkey? Like, what do they eat on Friday?
I don't know. Ew.
Okay.
But
I imagine a lot of brisket.
Yeah, brisket.
So brisket, eh?
The oven.
You got to get you a Hasidic Jew wife, Abe.
No. So the reason I cook the pies tonight is one because the pumpkin pie needs to be served fully chilled.
Okay.
So might as well do that the night before and have that sit in the fridge. And then the chocolate chess pie is served room temperature, so also can make that the night before. But sort of the main reason, even though those reasons make more sense, I don't want the sweet-smelling pie smell at the same time as the savory turkey gravy smell. So, tonight is the sweet smell, and then tomorrow all day it will smell like Thanksgiving.
Oh, nice. That makes sense.
That's the end.
I didn't know what a chocolate chess pie was until Lori started making it a few years ago.
Nobody does.
They're fucking spectacular. All of you people who eat apple pie on Thanksgiving, you're doing it wrong. Make a chocolate chess pie.
Super easy.
It's
super easy. One
it's
bowl.
Delicious. You can be a total slob and put like whipped cream or ice cream on it.
You should put whipped cream because it's very rich. And for some reason, adding whipped cream makes it less rich.
Huh.
That doesn't sound right at all.
It's how they say. It's so rich, you need whipped cream with it. Like, okay.
And then what's the other thing Lori does on Thanksgiving that's great?
Pumpkin pie?
No, I don't like pumpkin pie at all. You can keep your pumpkin pie. Maybe a pumpkin cheesecake. That would be fine. Yeah. It's the carrot souffle that Lori makes. It's just this. It's like, what if mashed potatoes but carrots? And it's
not a real souffle.
Way better than it sounds. Like when about this carrot souffle. Nope, you were wrong, Bob. Carrot souffle is arguably the best part of the meal.
It's basically dessert that you serve with dinner, but it's dessert.
I'm hearing a lot of things that Lori's doing. What's your contribution, Bob?
Look here now,
Bob
Abe.
cleans.
As the man, I'm going to be out on the front yard with a giant vat of oil.
He cleans too.
Yeah,
you're
lots of
doing the
cleaning.
actual turkey thingy?
Yeah, and then I'm going to fry the turkey in the many gallons of hot peanut oil. In fact, I'm going to fry 2 turkeys. There's only 5 of us. Frying 2 12-pound birds.
So stupid.
Wow.
Making 24 pounds of turkey.
You want to come?
It's
Anybody
not too late.
listening?
Last
We'll
year,
probably eat around 5. So if you can get here, you're welcome to please come eat our food.
is this a deviation from the norm, like 2 instead of 1? Like what
We've
was last
always
year?
done 2
The
since we
deviation
started
from
frying.
the norm is the few people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it just felt wrong and that's the other thing. Like last year, and it felt like I was out of turkey way too early in terms of my leftover situation. And my favorite, and I'm not kidding, like that I enjoy the Thanksgiving meal. It's fine. It's good. It's a wonderful holiday, obviously. But easily the best part of Thanksgiving is Friday afternoon at lunchtime when you make your first leftover sandwich. And when I say sandwich, what I mean is that I take everything that I had piled onto my plate the day before, including the mashed potatoes and the stuffing and the cranberry sauce and the carrot souffle and the turkey and the gravy, and I can't think of what else.
Mashed potatoes.
I think I said mashed potatoes. And I cram all of that in between 2 large pieces of bread and a slice of cheddar cheese for some reason. and I dip it in the gravy and I eat it as a sandwich. And it's fucking spectacular. What's funny is like as you get about a third or a half through the sandwich and you start to feel like in the upper part of your stomach like a blockage. And it's not because you've eaten so much. There's just something about your body is like, man, what are you trying to do? There's way too many things in each bite. And we have a system and you're fucking with the system. And so like you have to kind of like, and I cannot help but try to scarf my way through it in about a minute and 45 seconds either. Yeah. So that doesn't help. And so there's not very much breathing in that 2-minute period, but there is an awful lot of sandwich eating. And I'm sure it's like if you took video of it and then like showed it to people, they would be horrified. It would be, what is wrong with this country? not what's wrong with this person. What is wrong with civilization itself?
One of the differences between me and Bob is that my favorite thing about Thanksgiving leftovers is taking just cold turkey and dipping it in mayonnaise and
disgusting.
Eating it.
No,
That's awful.
That's good.
Mine takes no preparation. I can do mine in the fridge. Yeah. I just take the turkey and I take the mayonnaise and it's so good. It's so good.
Dipping yesterday's turkey into the mayonnaise is an affront to me on so many levels.
After your
Bob's
mishmash
thing is not gross.
Do you know
My
how I fish as necessary the mayo out of the mayo container?
I don't dip it. You
with a goddamn
it.
knife.
No, with
you just said that you could stand in the fridge and do it.
I could if I didn't live with you. I would, but I don't. So I sometimes get a knife and I get the mayonnaise from the jar. Or what we have right now is the squeezy mayonnaise.
We do have the squeezy mayonnaise. You're more than welcome to stand
so
in the fridge
fuck off.
and squeezy mayonnaise it onto the
cold.
Onto the turkey.
It's so good.
Just raw dog that turkey right there in the fridge.
I don't even need a plate.
Anyway, the point is, I felt like we ran out of leftovers last year.
It's because we ate at your mom's and shared them with your adult
Yeah, there's too many fucking
siblings.
grown-ups around. All my siblings were like, "Nah, we're gonna need some of that." It's like, excuse me. And then they took all the good stuff, and I was left with maybe only a couple of sandwiches worth of leftovers. That's not acceptable.
Is there any special meal set aside for the dog for Thanksgiving, or
No.
just like?
No, absolutely not.
fuck
Fuck that
the
dog.
dog.
What are we talking about here?
So the
She'll get some leavings. She always ends up with way too
Yeah,
much.
she gets like the parts of the turkey that you can't eat because they're just fat.
Okay.
Yeah, and like what I often do for the dog is I scrape the cutting board just right into like whatever, meat scraps are left over on the cutting board and off the knife. You just scrape that right into her food.
The dog is taken care of.
And the dog is always
fine.
at the ready for the. You don't have to.
Oh,
like,
she's ready. Yeah, she's never turned down like meat juices. It's disgusting.
You and her both.
How dare you? Anyway, Thanksgiving is going to be great. It is obviously the best holiday of them all, and those who disagree are wrong. Flat out wrong.
a lot of food involved. By the way, before we get to the sports, and this is neither a Thanksgiving-related issue or a sports-related thing, but I'm going to forget by the time we do our normal show next week. Yesterday, I'm walking towards the Kroger, and I'm listening to something like a podcast. And somebody...
This is, when you say that, you're just, so everyone understands, you live catty corner to the Kroger, across a large parking lot, basically.
Yes. It's like maybe like 100 yards at the most, right? So this person is waving in my direction. And I look around as if it's somebody else, but like he must be waving at me, but I'm just
what's the homeless meter telling you? Is this how much bum is coming off this?
No,
this
not
individual?
a homeless vibe. They're with a bicycle. I think they just came from the Kroger. They just bought something, so they're just another person. Not that homeless people are not people, but he is waving like trying to get my attention, and I'm like, since I'm just gonna avoid him, and I'm walking towards him anyway. So by the time I get to him, I'm like, what the fuck what do you want, guy? Before I get to him, to my right, remember that documentary, the staircase, where there was like that owl theory thing?
Yes.
Yes.
There's this big fucking owl to my right.
What time? What
this
time
is
of
like
day?
in the evening, like I don't know, like. I mean, the sun was so like 7, 8 o'clock.
In the evening, at the owl's breakfast time.
So it's just there, maybe like 5 yards from me. It's like right next to me.
On the asphalt?
No, just like it's just hanging. There's like a railing, and it's just there. And it's like one of those like wheelchair access kind of things, and it's just there. And I'm like, oh, look, a fucking owl. That's weird. And then I continue. I'm like talking to the guy. He's like, yeah, I'm trying to get your attention. That owl.
He was trying to save your life, Abe.
And he was like so adamant, like owls fuck people up. They're dangerous. Like
I've seen this. I saw this movie.
No, he knows.
I was about to get in. I'm like, did you just watch a documentary by any chance? I did not ask him that. I just said, thanks for looking out. You know, like, I mean, the owl was just there, and it just flew away. Like, it did not attack me or anything, but it's just weird. They were just right there, and this guy was
Do you believe that further convicts the man who you've decided could not, that woman couldn't possibly have been victimized by an owl, and the fact of your survival only reinforces that?
So I was thinking about that. I was like, well, he must believe it. But I'm thinking he was just he got swept up by this bullshit theory, because I walked by it. At no point did I felt like if there was like a bee, I would freak out. Like a bee, like a little bee. But that owl
here's the thing.
caused no alarm in me.
I don't think the owl's after you.
No, so separate from the staircase.
Yeah.
Because of conversations like this, I get Google newsfeed things about like deadly barred owls.
Okay, deadly.
Like they are dangerous.
It
so
happens,
people
to the
who
humans
don't know about the staircase are also reasonably afraid of being framed by owls for murder.
I think that's what this was. He doesn't want you getting viciously attacked by the owl only for some fucking stupid cop to be like, yeah, okay, an owl, right?
Exactly.
We'll take you in and let's have this conversation down at the station, Mr. Bicycle Man, who claims he saw an owl.
I will say though, even though I don't see the danger in the owl yet because he did no harm to me. I am a disappointment. I was disappointed in my lack of reaction. I was just like, fuck this guy. I'm sure nothing is wrong. He's like waving at me as if like there's a bear around the corner.
Right.
I'm
As
like,
if there's a fucking owl there.
How near to? I suppose you're close to the park and some forest action, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a lot of.
what
Piedmont
the
Park
fuck is
like,
the owl doing leaving the park and coming to
Whatever
Murder
it
Kroger?
wants.
Yeah, maybe,
Murdering.
Abe, I know you say that it's not Murder Kroger anymore.
But that owl is
but
there.
fuck, man, there was an owl in the parking lot.
No one was harmed. I looked at the news the next day, this morning. No one was accosted by an
I
owl.
like that you checked the news instead of just stepping outside to see if any police tape had been erected around a murder scene. I think you're lucky that you have that gloriously bald dome of yours, which to me, if I were an owl,
Yeah.
I wouldn't think there's something that's worthy of attack. There's probably something tasty and meaty under there. No, that's clearly hard.
It does look sort of like a shell.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't look like anything worth
Turtle.
getting into. Whereas, say, a middle-aged woman with a full head of hair,
Like an animal, like a soft animal.
you might consider attacking.
That I will say, maybe I just never paid attention to owls, but bigger than I thought. Like I've seen the pictures and whatnot, but like, oh, it's a big bird. Yeah, that fucking thing.
We've got a couple barred owls that
We
hang
have
out
so many.
in our neighborhood, and we had a couple that lived in one of the trees right around our house.
Wait, Bard, those are the ones with the murdering?
Yeah, those are the murder
Yeah,
owls.
those are the ones who will frame you for murder.
No shit. Maybe there's some truth to that theory.
Yeah. Anyway, it is the sports edition of this podcast, so we need to be opening up the WGAS Sports News Bag. It's time for Who Gives a Shit News Sports Edition. Abe, Mack Brown has been fired from the University of North Carolina Tar Heels.
Fired or he stepped down?
Fired.
Wow.
Fired. They gave him the opportunity, almost certainly, many times to step down. And Mack Brown decided, I am not taking the more dignified road. And
Remember, this is the UNC Tar Heels who lost 70-50 to JMU.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, even if the head coach is a stubborn old man, the language you would use would be relieved of his duties. Fired just seems so harsh for somebody who's, been around
he
for a
said
while.
on Monday that he had every intention to return to coach the Tar Heels moving forward. And then on Tuesday, the administration said, not so much. 16 years he was at North Carolina after leaving Texas,
Wow.
where he won a national title. I was surprised to find out that it had been 16 years, but in fact it has. 73 years old was Mack Brown, or is Mack Brown. He's going
Does he
to coach.
have like a...
He's going to coach this weekend. Not clear, and they are bowl eligible. Not yet decided whether or not he will coach them if they are chosen to go to a bowl game.
Is there a buyout situation?
I don't know. I imagine it's fairly minimal. I don't think that he has any. He's not made any recent large contract signings or anything like that.
So at the tail end of whatever existing contract he's on, you think?
Yeah, looks like he is like 7th or 8th all time in FBS coaching wins. Eighth most coaching wins with 288. He is 2 behind Brian Kelly, surprisingly enough.
These coaches must be addicted to coaching because, I mean, I'm looking this up. He's 73, so he's up there in age. He can easily get one of those studio jobs like just talking shit, get rid of one of the other head coaches that are there. And he can,
I'd be willing to bet that television is more work than the amount of work that Mack Brown
No,
does.
I
for
don't
North
think
Carolina.
so.
for him, you think? Like, the coaches are just there for their expertise, and they just toss him a couple of
He's
questions.
got to be the most CEO in the office kind of coach out of anybody, right? Like he's not hanging out fucking chewing.
Still.
He's not chewing tape all day long.
No, but he's having to do head coach things.
Right. Basically, like I'm sure that every school has like a bunch of staff for recruiting, but then the closer like is the head coach. He's like the Mariano Rivera. You got to close this out, and you got to fly around and do all this stuff. Talk to some 17-year-old kid who wants money. That's got to be stressful. Like, why would you want to do that in your 70s? It just sounds terrible.
Can you imagine Mack Brown walking into the living room of a young I don't know, somebody from some young black kid from Metro Atlanta, and you got a 73-year-old Mack Brown has to go try and relate to that kid and that family. Doesn't seem comfortable for anyone involved, really.
Right, and he can't really point to his success at Texas. These kids were like in diapers at that point, right? So it's like, he's got nothing to show for.
I mean, yeah, that JMU game was gnarly, and they lost the opener against Minnesota, as I recall, in what was a very close game. Or did they win the opener again? I think I had Minnesota. I got to look that up now. It was a very fun game to start the season. Yeah, they won 19-17 to start the year against the Minnesota Golden Gophers in a game that I think I picked incorrectly. But anyway, Mack Brown, obviously, a long, successful career. I can't imagine that he will coach again, right? Like, nobody's going to hire Mack Brown.
No, he'll do media.
Yeah, he should just fish or whatever people do. Maybe he's too old for golfing, but he can fish and do Saturday, the studio show, and just
for what it's worth, he improved North Carolina's football program by basically every measure over the course of the last 16 years.
He's like Mark Richt.
Shouldn't he have been permitted to choose his own exit at the age of
Mark,
73?
They gave him that, and he was being stubborn, apparently.
No, I mean, like, legitimately, not like pretend that he wasn't actually being fired, which is what it would have been, but like to say, no, look here, I'm Mack Brown, you're North Carolina, and not the basketball team. You're the North Carolina football team. I get to choose when I'm leaving, and I want to do 2 more seasons, so fuck off.
Yeah, maybe he probably did that, and he's like, you'll have to fire me. There's not going to be like a graceful exit, and then they called his bluff and told him to fuck off.
Or maybe they have somebody good lined up.
Maybe.
What's
weird about it is that, like, North Carolina is a perfectly fine job in all likelihood, but, like, what other top-tier coaching jobs are going to come available this season?
Exactly. Well, we'll find out.
It doesn't seem like there's going to be too many. Like, maybe Arkansas comes available if the Arkansas decides they're done with Sam Pittman. Although, like, they've won a few games this season.
Yeah.
Well, and not Florida.
Right, Florida's not coming open.
Who knows if Deion's returning?
Deion seems like he's coming back. He just signed that 5-star.
Who knows? No, all of the podcast people are saying that this is going to be like the quietest head coach off season and a very busy assistant coach and coordinator carousel season because everything's too expensive and they can't afford it.
I've got an idea. I'm going to email the UNC athletic director, give them a name that's probably just below their radar. Mike Bobo is who you want. This is what you want for your program is a Mike Bobo type.
Wasn't Mike Bobo? No. Where did he get was it Colorado or Colorado State? Where did he go?
Colorado State.
Colorado State. Didn't even make it to Colorado. Yes.
Did not have much success out there.
So I'm sure that he had that going against him, right? So you think your email is not going to be sent to the trash bin?
They're not going to read Bob's email.
I'll send it.
You can send it as much. You can send it every day.
I'll send it from the show email, which has got a lot more push and pull in the media world than my personal email does. All right. Also in the WGAS news bag this week, Daniel Jones, who, of course, was viciously benched and then cut from the Giants in favor of Tommy DeVito, and the Giants had
that's
to.
His name. Okay.
They couldn't even afford to like keep him on as a backup because if DeVito goes down and then Jones comes in and gets hurt, then various guarantees kick in for the next season. Yeah. And the Giants are like, let's not. And so they just cut him and took a hit on the cap. Like, I don't know, the fucking understanding the salary cap at the NFL level is so far beyond anything that I could possibly even care about. Never mind study and figure out in the long run. But they decided that it made more sense to just fucking cut him. And so he was free to sign somewhere else as a free agent for the rest of the season. And he is signed with a CIB favorite, the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
So now the former Jet and the former Giant are now playing for the Vikings? Isn't that Darnold's team?
Yeah, Darnold. Wow. Darnold has led the Vikings. I think they only have 2 losses so far this season. They're in pretty good shape there in the NFC North.
What are they doing over there? Because they have the Michigan kid nursing an injury. He'll be back next year, right? The JJ. So what's the plan with
he remains JJ McDaniel, is that right?
McCarthy.
JJ McCarthy. JJ McCarthy remains the only quarterback under contract for the 2025 season at this point. Jones is going to apparently sign a contract that just takes him through the remainder of this season and will in all likelihood be on the practice squad as the third string quarterback behind.
Oh God,
I forget who their second string quarterback is. But what's his name? Sam Darnold is only signed through this season also. So they are expecting J.J. McCarthy to be ready to go in 2025, which is quite ballsy to draft a – was McCarthy a fourth-year or a fifth-year senior?
I think fourth, but who knows?
A 4-year senior, give him a gap year on an injury, and then expect him to come in and save the day next year, especially after this season.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Darnold is going to command something of an elevated salary. And,
what are they going to go to the Raiders or
contract.
something? Where's he going to go?
I don't know.
The Giants?
Yeah, maybe the Giants. Maybe the Giants sign Sam Darnold as they draft Carson Beck. Let Carson Beck sit for a year behind. Learn a thing or two from the great Sam Darnold, who I'm sure the MetLife faithful will welcome back to northern New Jersey with open arms.
Laura, you mentioned that at least with the college football coaches, there's not going to be a lot of activity. There should be plenty of activity with the GM job for the Giants. I mean, invested in Daniel Jones, did not work out. Could not figure out a way to make a deal with Barkley, Saquon, and he goes to the division rival.
An MVP year for the fucking wretched Eagles.
Yeah, and so just maybe it's not his fault. Maybe the running back market. Maybe you shouldn't overpay, especially if your team is not that good. So maybe letting him go was the right move. But just both of those things not working out.
Okay,
you got to get fired.
If your team's not that good, why give Daniel Jones
That's true. Yeah,
whatever it was?
Yeah, that's the firing offense. Basically, you invested in this quarterback, it didn't work.
You gave him a second contract. It made sense. Okay, a rookie deal, Daniel Jones. See what we've got. You gave him another fucking contract.
Yeah.
And I know that, I guess people like Brian Daboll, and who knows, but. You know what? Bill Belichick's just been doing the Manning cast all year long, and he's a Giants guy in his heart. I know that he was, of course, with the Patriots for a very long time, but he's a New York football giant deep down inside.
He got those two Super Bowls as a coordinator, right? And then
Why do you want when Saban retired? You were like, the Giants should hire him. And now you're like...
I don't think I said the Giants should hire Nick Saban.
You 100% did.
That's the highest percent.
And it was
a low moment.
You were like, don't be sad that Saban's gone. Fuck Saban. The Giants should hire him, head coach of the Giants. And now you're doing it with Bill Belichick. What is wrong with you?
Bill Belichick was a Giant back in the 80s.
Okay, but
the Bill and Bill 30 for 30.
Okay.
Great episode of 30 for 30. I forget what they call it, 2 Bills or
something like that.
Something stupid like that. Bill Belichick should come coach the fucking Giants. And I don't care about the GM situation at that point. Although Belichick probably wants to be the GM and the head coach. So yeah, let him do it. It's fine.
Also, another 70-plus-year-old.
Totally fine. He's dating a fucking 25-year-old.
Oh,
he is clearly young at heart.
That is very. I don't care about
young giant at heart.
I typically don't care about the age gap issue, but that is a damning age gap. That's like 50 years.
Really
That's
is
ridiculous.
Excessive, isn't it?
That is unbelievable. That is unacceptable.
That's like 3 generations.
Damning, Abe says. Wow.
I think of him less as a result of that. Just it shouldn't matter, but
Carson Beck and Bill Belichick have the same problem, which is Instagram famous girlfriends. Which one of them is well into his 70s,
right? And Lane Kiffin, it seems like that's like the same age. Like all these girlfriends are like the same age, but like one is a 20-something-year-old, another one's I don't know how old Lane Kiffin is in 40s, and then a 70-year-old.
Dudes be gross, Abe.
Yes.
I think is the how we can sum all of that up. Which GM is in more trouble, the Giants GM or the Colts GM?
Oh yeah, they need to get rid of him too. Another bungled fucking this guy, his thing was, the whole thing's like trust this guy. He has this unconventional method of like drafting like athletic freaks. You know, they have like some sort of like RAS score, like I don't know what it is, some relative athletic score or something. And like Anthony Richardson's like a 10 out of 10. Like he can jump very high, he can lift a lot of weight, and all of these things are great, but no relevance to actually playing the football sport, right? And so like his theory has fallen apart, and to salvage the head coach Steichen, I think he's still a good coach. Get rid of the GM, start fresh, and if the coach still sucks in a couple of years, get rid of him too. But this
it's like what you're referring to sounds to me like the opposite of sabermetrics, whereas like what we're looking for is like we have seriously undervalued OP or on base percentage. Like we have collectively, for some reason, there's a bunch of dudes out there in baseball who, though they don't hit a ton, they do get on base a lot, and so their top line numbers don't always look great, but they are surprisingly productive, and no one else has noticed yet. And so like what we're going to do is we're going to find the guys who are surprisingly productive literally on the baseball field, just based on their ability to perform baseball better than everyone else. Whereas the Colts guy is like, all right, ignore everything you've ever seen on a football field. Right. We're going to go with the guys who exercise the
take
best.
off your shirt. Basically, that's what he's looking at. Like, wow, look at that. Look at those abs. You must be really like, what the fuck? This had nothing to do. Look,
it sounds like the Jerry Jones or also the slave trader approach to the draft. Not great.
Not great. Yeah.
We have been talking for like 45 minutes and not about college football.
It sounds like Lori wants me to zip up the WGAS.
I just want to talk about.
There was some Mack Brown talk.
You know what's sad? It's rivalry weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an impressively pronounced thing. I don't know that I've successfully said rivalry.
Oh, rivalry. Okay, so it's funny that you noticed, because during holiday time there is also much revelry.
Oh.
Well.
And I've thought all day about a way to combine rivalry with revelry, and you can't. It's such a fucking waste. It's just one word or the other.
Yeah, it's like a fork. It's like a fork in the road. You got to go one way or the other, right?
You can't portmanteau those two together.
We have been talking for a long time, and now I've just allowed Lori to digress for like 35 seconds, which is obviously what's truly holding us back here. Yes, Lori.
Fuck you.
Oh, fair enough. Let's move on to the best game in every time slot, and we have not just our traditional 1 day plus a bonus game of days to get through. Instead, we have to discuss 2 straight full days of college football action, because there's a whole slate of games on Friday. Normally, as I recall, we would get like the Egg Bowl on Friday.
Yeah. No, we would get it on Thanksgiving.
Oh, was it on Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
All right. I remember getting like maybe like an LSU game.
LSU Arkansas was a lot of the time Friday.
Gotcha. We don't have that this season. We don't have a Thursday major college football game.
I mean, we got the Memphis-Tulane game, but that's
Memphis-Tulane, which is obviously very big
we'll
for
be watching
Abe
NFL.
Personally. But we'll be watching the NFL that day in all likelihood. So we will move to Friday at noon. You've finally gotten back from fighting the hordes and the crowds at Walmart.
We will have gone and gotten a Christmas tree.
What's the hot gift this year?
No,
Anybody
that's
know?
we're doing Saturday.
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Everything's online these days, so it's kind of hard to get a gauge on what are people rushing out to get.
Anyway, you're back there at noon. You've assembled your 7.5-inch tall turkey and fixings sandwich there on your plate, and you turn on the television to watch Minnesota at Wisconsin. Minnesota catching a 1.5 at Camp Randall in Wisconsin. This is the most played game, most played rivalry in NCAA Division I FBS football.
Really?
Very cool.
Wow. I would not have guessed that.
133 times it has been played so far. Minnesota's been a fun team to watch. Wisconsin has come on a little bit here at the end, surprised some folks. And they play for Paul Bunyan's axe, which fucking rules.
Yeah, I love those gimmick games. Yeah,
it's a great gimmick. And Abe, do you know what they do? Well, first of all, They used to play for the slab of bacon, which was a piece of wood that had an M or a W in the middle of it, so that when you flipped it over, like you could hang it on the wall, and of course, if you had won it, you would hang it. You're Wisconsin, you would hang it with as the W. Yes. If you're the other guy, that got lost at some point during some fracas, and I think, according to Wikipedia, one of the coaches was like, "We're not going to fuck around with that. There's a war on." And so it got lost during World War II. They're like, we can fuck with the bacon after all of the GIs are back and not getting killed in Europe anymore. And it just disappeared.
What
Nobody
a
saw
short-sighted coach. I mean, you have to cling to the, the known things during trying times.
My God, I wonder where it is.
They found it in an equipment room buried under a bunch of shit. But by then they had already moved on to the Paul Bunyan's axe.
Well, they should have both things.
Trophy. And you know what they do with the axe, Abe?
What?
The winning team is handed the axe, and then they run down to the end zone and chop down the goalpost with the axe. Symbolically.
Symbolically.
Not,
you can't do that with
you can't
the axe.
literally do it with
Metal.
the axe. But yeah. That's what the boys do. Because you know what? Fucking the boys are having a good time.
I assume
rivalry
I
weekend.
assume a third party is holding on to the axe. Like, it's not like
it used to be that it would be with the team that had won it previously.
Right. That's how it should be.
I know, but the problem with that is, like, what if there's a controversial call to end one game?
Right.
Like,
at the end of the game, now you've got the players from Wisconsin running across the field and demanding the axe from the Minnesotans.
No. It should come to the stadium, and they should hand it over to the fucking officials.
Like some accounting firm?
Yeah, Deloitte.
Yes.
Or PricewaterhouseCoopers is there. Yeah.
Yes, and then they might give it back to you if you win again, or they give it to the other team.
Yeah, that would be great.
See, I'm studying accounting.
Anyway, Minnesota at Wisconsin. It's an over/under of 41.5, so you know it's going to be an entertaining game. That Minnesota coach, whose name I don't know off the top of my head, he's very fit. He's not quite as fit as the Notre Dame coach, but he wears a throwback sweater on the sideline. Which I know. Which I greatly appreciate, I must say. Like, he looks like a coach from the 1950s, and though he is slightly too fit for my personal taste, I would prefer him to be 20 to 30 pounds heavier, mostly in the gut, possibly about the face and neck also. I appreciate the way he dresses, and therefore I will be rooting for the Golden Gophers.
On that point, there were some NFL coaches that try to bring back that, but the NFL, because of their marketing deals, they're like, you have to dress like a slob and wear NFL merch. Because like there was like the head coach for the Niners, like Nolan, I think he had like a suit on, like he tried to be like a Landry type, and they're like, the NFL doesn't sell that. Like, what are you doing? You got to wear our shit, And so now all the coaches will just wear the shit.
I remember, didn't Belichick wear the hoodie as a protest?
Yeah, he wore it in like the ugliest way just to spite them.
He ripped the sleeves off of it just to make it look as awful as possible. Yeah. Good old Belichick. Get him on the sidelines. God damn it. In the Meadowlands. Are you kidding me? I want it so bad. I'm a lapsed Giants fan during the Daniel Jones era because of I loved Eli more than it was rational to love Eli, and have never cared for that narrow-eyed Daniel Jones. Yeah. Although I like him more now as a Viking backing up Sam Darnold. And Tommy DeVito does nothing for me, despite being a product of Don Bosco, where I went to high school for a year.
No kidding. Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, get me fucking Bill Belichick on the sideline, have him draft Carson Beck, and I'll be fully back with the Giants. Anyway, moving on. That's the noon game on Friday. Let's get to
There are other games.
The 3:30 game on Friday is the Egg Bowl. That's Mississippi State at Ole Miss, and that's the one to watch. Despite the fact that game is like, was it 26 points or something
spread.
like that?
Good Lord.
Whatever. Mississippi State has also gotten better throughout the season.
Yeah, and their offense has been doing stuff, which is why that's an over-under of over 61 points, which makes it likely an exciting game. Also, it's entirely possible that this team quits on Lance Kiffin.
Yep.
At any moment, a team could be ready to quit on Lance Kiffin. Jackson Dart, obviously thoroughly demoralized after last week. I believe he was crying like a baby.
He was crying. It was not a good look.
I'm sorry. If you look like that with the long hair and the super ferocious eye black, you can't be crying, bro.
I feel like I say it every year. Happy cry all you want. Cry because you won. Fine. Or cry because you're sad that the season is over.
Yeah.
It's the senior night. This is the last football game you'll probably ever play. Fine. Don't cry because you lost.
Yep.
Don't cry because you lost.
Don't
That's
cry
fucking pathetic.
What if you're crying because you caused the loss by throwing an
no,
inordinate amount of
you
picks?
didn't.
Just keep
By throwing just endless picks. By throwing a
No.
pick, and then the referees say, nope, that doesn't count as a pick. Not because they're trying to give you a second chance, but because they're trying to punish you by making you
Sure.
go out there and throw
don't
yet
cry.
another pick.
Yeah, don't cry.
That's the 3:30 game. Moving on, that's the Egg Bowl. You got to watch the Egg Bowl. 7:30, Georgia Tech travels down 316, along 316, slightly up 85, and then down 316 to Athens Town to play the Georgia Bulldogs. They're catching 19 and a half
They're
They're
points.
doing another blackout?
Ridiculous
Are they?
game.
I think so.
Oh,
They're calling for a blackout again?
Yeah, I don't know how they do that, but I guess you could just do whatever you want. But yeah, I think so.
All right.
By the way, on this point, I was hanging out with Tyler over the weekend, and he mentioned that he's going to this game.
Nice.
And
Oh, maybe he'll be sad
In
Tech
the-
fan Tyler
Oh,
again.
man, I have some good pictures on Facebook of sad Tyler at Georgia games, I believe.
this could just be a perspective from Georgia Tech, like a biased perspective. But are Georgia fans known to be shitty?
They
'Cause,
hate us.
Well, because he was saying he was concerned if I wore a bunch of Georgia Tech gear, would the Georgia
No.
throng harass us? I was like, I didn't know
No,
Georgia.
but no. You know
Some
what,
people
Abe?
they're going to bark in his face.
They'll bark at him.
All right, you just got to live with it. Sorry.
But also, they won't be shitty, but he will be sure that they are being shitty.
I see.
That's Tech fans.
No
They hate
perceive-
us. They hate us. They hate us so much.
Do you know why they hate us?
Why is that, Bob?
Because since 2001, they've only beat us 3 goddamn times.
Let's stop talking shit. Just
3
wait
times
till the game's
since I became a Georgia fan.
Don't make it 4 with your shitting on them.
Seriously, shut your mouth.
All right. Here's the thing about those 3 times. Those 3 losses
I was at one of them.
since 2001 have come by a total of 10 points, and all of them have been in Athens. And that might scare you, given the fact that they've all 3 have been in Athens. Georgia has not lost at historic Mark Richt Field at Bobby Dodd Stadium since Richt came to Athens back in 2001. And that's a small number of points, obviously. The largest margin of victory for Tech since 2001 was 6. And all of those games were noon kickoffs in
That's
Athens.
true.
And that made me feel so much better when I figured that out. I was
Okay.
like, oh, man, I don't care for this. They've only beaten us in Athens in the last 20 years. However, the fact that they were all noon kickoffs makes me feel better about the fact that this is a 7:30 game.
Also, while Georgia does have the look ahead sort of risk,
Yeah.
there's no team that they're looking ahead to. It's a game,
Yeah.
but it's not like they can be preparing, thinking about Texas or A&M.
That's
It
true.
is unknown. It will be unknown.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's literally impossible for the coaches to have been game planning for anything besides Georgia Tech
Yeah.
this week because they simply don't know who they're going to face. And it would make more sense for them ultimately to game plan for a running quarterback because you've got Haynes King with Tech and then potentially Marcel Reed with Texas A&M. So you might end up with 2 running quarterbacks in a row. So you might as well prepare for the running quarterback this week with Tech. Anyway, we'll get into, I'm sure, a little bit more Tech talk as we get into our picks a little bit later. That is Friday. 3 games. I didn't bother with second television games. Any objections to me not mentioning any other games on Friday? I found that though there is an exciting slate, a legitimately exciting slate on Friday, it's sort of just those 3 top-tier games,
I'm
and then you can
excited.
ignore most of the rest.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't see anything that jumps out at me here.
All right. So moving on to Saturday at noon. You've built now a second sandwich tower for you to consume for the second day in a row because you didn't have so much rotten family around you this time that they stole all of your leftovers. South Carolina at Clemson is the way to go at noon on the primary television.
Do they have some sort of thing in the state of South Carolina? Like what?
I'm sure that it's like a Palmetto.
Yeah,
It's the Palmetto Bowl.
Palmetto.
It only officially became the Palmetto Bowl in, I think, 2014.
Oh, wow.
But they've, of course, played a bunch of times. The 2020 meeting of the two football teams was canceled, ending an unbroken streak of 111 years of games. They had
120 total.
111 years in a row until the COVID-19 broke things up. The game has never been contested anywhere besides Columbia or Clemson, and Clemson leads the series 73-43-4.
120.
That's a lot of times. I'm excited about this game. I think that it's one of the best games potentially of the weekend, actually, because of how good South Carolina has been playing. And they both.
Now they've been playing well. Now you've come around to my side.
They both have an absolute shit ton to play for because Clemson potentially with a loss is absolutely out of the playoff, but potentially with a win could play their way either into the ACC champ. I mean, if they win, it doesn't matter for the ACC, obviously. But if Miami is playing Syracuse this weekend, if they lose, then Clemson is in the ACC championship game, and this becomes a game that they needed to have won to possibly sneak in as the second ACC team. Yeah. Right? Like, it's hard to imagine them losing to South Carolina and then losing in the ACC championship game and still getting an at-large bid into the 12-team field. Whereas if they win this game and then lose the ACC, maybe they still manage to hold on as the second team out of the ACC. And certainly, if they're going to get an at-large bid without making the ACC championship game, they desperately need to win this game.
Yeah.
And South Carolina has a very outside shot, depending on how a number of other things fall.
Like if we lose and Tennessee loses.
Right. If we lose and then lose the SEC championship game, if Tennessee loses, if Auburn beats Alabama in the Iron Bowl, you might be looking at a situation where South Carolina has just been so good for the back half of the season. And then you look at their losses, very close loss to Alabama, very close loss to LSU that they probably should have won, and then getting blown out by Ole Miss. Like, that's the only bad loss.
Ole Miss, who cares? You can get blown out by Ole Miss, and then they'll lose to Florida, so it doesn't matter.
Right. So both of these teams have a great deal to play for, and that's the one to check out Saturday at noon. Which is not to say that there are not many other games to check out in that noon window. And in fact, it's time to break out the quad box because there are 4 other games worth looking into, starting with Tennessee at Vanderbilt. I think that one is obviously, it's a 10.5-point game, and it's not a great matchup for Vanderbilt, I don't think, because that Tennessee defense is so good. We'll probably give Pavia a good bit of problems. But this is a nooner at Vandy, so it's hard to imagine Tennessee coming out ready to fucking kill. And you know, you just don't know what happens. And Vandy's been fucking feisty this season. Then you've got also at that time Louisville at Kentucky, which is another game worth checking out. Stoops, the lesser Stoops, has not yet lost to Louisville, despite consistently having the worst team over the last couple of years.
No kidding, really? I did not know that.
Yeah, Stoops hasn't lost to them. And pop quiz, hotshot. Who was the last Louisville quarterback to beat the Kentucky Wildcats?
Lamar Jackson?
I fucking nailed it. Look at you go. Lamar Jackson in 2017 defeated the Kentucky Wildcats.
Crazy. Wow,
he also did it in 2015. Lamar was 2 out of 3 against Kentucky. Well done there, Abe. And then also at noon, Kansas minus 1.5 at Baylor. Should be a fun game and has Big 12 implications. There are every Big 12 game.
I think all the Big 12 games have Big 12 implications.
Yes, they all bear on the outcome. And I refuse to engage with the various
that's
tiebreakers.
fair.
There's way too much weird shit going on. All I know is
See what happens.
Yeah, we're just going to see what happens on Sunday night. And then also, of course, at noon, you've got Michigan. I know it's a 3-touchdown game, Michigan at Ohio State. But Ohio State has not beaten Michigan in a little while, Abe.
Yeah, 3 years in a row.
And I've got a clip to play you from Ryan Day.
This is about an old man.
This guy takes things quite seriously.
Is this current?
This is from this week. This is an
Okay.
interview that he gave a local television station there in Columbus.
I said, you understand what this is about and everything. And they all said the same thing. And I think it's a tribute to you. They said, we want to beat these guys, the seniors did. We want to get our gold pants, but we want to win this game for Coach Day. You hear that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's our life. It's our life, and we know what this game means, and certainly I know what this game means, and there's a lot of people counting on this game. You know, this is our identity. It's who we are. Like, you know, we don't have anything else. So it's a big responsibility, and you know, the last couple of years when it doesn't get done, like it just eats at your core.
I don't know, you feel good about going into this game with those guys?
Oh yeah. I mean, I do. I love these guys. They're an unbelievable group, and so that's why we got to have that edge, and we will, because we know what's at stake. I mean, we've felt what it's like to not win this game, and it's bad. It's one of the worst things that's happened to me in my life. Quite honestly, other than losing my father and a few other things, like it's quite honestly for my family the worst thing that's happened. So we can never have that happen again, ever.
I'm fine with it. I don't like him, but I'm fine with it.
It's too much. I'm afraid it's too much.
That is such a ridiculous thing to say. Like,
do you know how he lost his father?
No, hopefully
In a football
not by
game.
him. Like, what happened?
No, his father committed suicide when he was 8 years old.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not like
So it's not as bad as that.
the old man didn't have a heart attack a few years ago.
Or die from COVID, or just something like an old age he died. Like it's
Right.
unfortunate, but that's remarkable.
It's too much. I love college football. I spend the reason that we do this show at all is because I don't want it to overwhelm the other thing that I like to talk about, which is news and culture nonsense, right? Like the reason that this stupid show exists twice a week is because I'm afraid that it will eat too large a percentage of the other thing that I like to talk about.
Right.
Obviously, I have no actual connection to the sport. I'm just a fan. I just enjoy it from afar. This makes me deeply uncomfortable.
Right.
When he talks about how we don't have anything else, it's our entire identity, and we know what it's like to lose this game. We can't ever let this happen again. Like
Right.
Ryan.
Right.
You're gonna lose to Michigan again. Even if you go on a pretty good run
Right.
the next couple of years,
Right.
Michigan's probably gonna be good again at some point.
Do you think he believes it, or he's just selling the program?
I think he believes it in the moment.
He seems like he really believes
Right.
it.
It's weird because I was watching. There was a documentary on that Connor Stalions dope from Michigan with the sign stealing, and they were talking about how big of a thing the game is between these two teams and these weird fans that follow these message boards and how seriously they take it. And I wonder if
the message board people are
this is like
weird.
an offering, like Ryan Day, this is like an offering to those people. They're like, oh, this guy's one of us, even though he's not really. But like this guy, he gets it. Maybe this is just he's throwing something at them. Because it's like to normal fans who are just casually watching it, it just seems ridiculous. It's like you've lost all perspective. It's a weird thing to say, like that. Oh, like
This is the worst
Yeah.
thing that's ever happened to me and my family is losing 3 games to Michigan in a row. During which I've been paid like $37 million or something like that.
Wow. By the way, this guy, not that it matters, he dyes his hair, right? His hair,
He has to.
Just looks
There's
so
no
black.
way.
He's also had some work done for sure. Like his face was much more hangdog before, and it's not like he's lost a ton of weight. He's definitely had work done.
Boy, the pressures of a college football
to get
coach.
facial work done. He probably just has a bunch of Botox.
Yeah. Anyway, it wouldn't surprise me if they just fucking curb stomp Michigan this week.
I mean, what is it even
as good
the
as
spread?
Michigan's defense has been? Michigan doesn't have much of an offense, and this could be one that gets out of hand. And he is absolutely the sort of guy to not take the foot off the gas,
Oh, yeah.
despite having a big lead in the fourth quarter. Which means like it will be real funny
Obviously, after what he did last week.
if Will Howard gets hurt up like 35 points in the fourth quarter. Anyway, those are the 4 games for your quad box Saturday at noon. The quad box is not yet done, however, because I managed to find that there are at least 5 games worth watching in every single time slot today. So moving on to the 3:30 window. At 3:30, it's time for the Iron Bowl. And though this is a double-digit game, Auburn catching 11.5 points on the road at Alabama. Alabama's coming off an embarrassment in Norman, Oklahoma last week, and needs to get right, needs to show the committee that they are worthy of being included in the event that enough other teams drop out of playoff contention over the course of the next 2 Saturdays, and desperately needs this, and it needs it in a big way. But Auburn has sort of hung around with a bunch of teams, right? Like they beat Texas A&M last week in 4 overtimes, and this is a game full of various hatreds, and you can never assume that a double-digit line means that it won't make for an entertaining game.
It's in Tuscaloosa, though.
Yeah, they had that going for them. Also, they need like a performance like they had against LSU, just like a dominant win. And this is at home, so it should be even easier. But you never know.
And so, though I don't care for Alabama, obviously, I would be fine with Auburn and Hugh Freeze getting fucking humiliated in the Iron Bowl, especially after I'll bet you they're all riding really high after beating Texas A&M last week.
Yeah.
And it just seems like the sort of game where, and you never know which Jalen Milroe is going to show up. Obviously, is it going to be the Jalen Milroe who kicks Georgia and LSU's ass every single year, or is it going to be the Jalen Milroe who shows up against most other teams?
Has that bad Milroe showed up twice in a row? Usually, it's like a one-off, and then
Kind of, yeah, because against Vanderbilt and then South Carolina,
that's right.
they won.
Okay, that's right. Yeah.
He was bad the whole season. Not bad. I don't like saying that.
Yeah, but anyway, that's the big TV game. There are a number of other games worth putting in the quad box at 3:30, though, starting with number 5 Notre Dame traveling to Southern Cal to play the Trojans. This is only a 7.5 point game, which kind of surprises me. I thought that this would be a bigger number.
Yeah. Maybe the east to west travel is shaving some of the points off. I don't know.
Yeah, but Notre Dame has, since NIU and then a pretty nicely contested game against Louisville, has basically dominated everyone. And it's not like they've had the toughest schedule. Obviously, they never do. But USC hasn't been very good this season, and Notre Dame has looked very good. So it's a weird number. I wouldn't bet it in either direction, certainly. But Notre Dame, this is a play-in game for them. If they lose this game, they're not in the playoff, and if they win this game, they're hosting a home playoff game. So in that way, at least, it's definitely worth checking out. Then you've got Miami, the number 6 team in the land, catching giving up double digits points, minus 11 on the road at the Carrier Dome there in Syracuse, with an over-under that is the high watermark of the weekend at 67.5 points.
Apparently, it's the JMA Wireless Dome. At least that's what it says on the ESPN app.
Oh. Why did I say Carrier Dome? Did it used to be called the Carrier Dome?
I think it used to be, right? Wasn't it? I think it used to be some other kind of dome.
Yeah, if you Google Carrier Dome, JMA Wireless comes up.
Gotcha.
It's like a Jerry World, AT&T, or whatever it's called now, with the Cowboys.
I've never heard of JMA Wireless.
Yes, I haven't either.
Syracuse has been a fairly schizophrenic offense this year, and you sort of never know what you're going to get with them. neither outcome would surprise me, and I'm rooting for Syracuse to upset Miami.
That would be so good.
Cam Ward's going to be a future Giants quarterback. You don't want to root for him?
No, Carson Beck. We're not taking Cam Ward. Bill Belichick knows better.
Carson Beck is not going to be drafted in the top 5. So you think the Giants are going to go somewhere else? Not a quarterback?
No, you're going to get value down there in the 3rd round. Arizona State, the 16th ranked team in the country, who has a pretty decent chance. Again, I'm not fucking with the tiebreakers, but if Arizona State wins, they have a good chance of playing in the Big 12 championship game. They travel to Arizona. They are 8.5-point favorites, and they should win that game. That's one where they play for the Territorial Cup, because this one goes back so far before the state was a state.
Back to the Arizona territory. Wow, really? This goes back.
Yep. Rooting hard for the all-name team out there in Arizona State, even if they do have that lunatic child coach. And then the 4th game for the quad box, bottom right corner, Arkansas +3 at number 21, Mizzou. This has reliably been a pretty good game. Even like they're trying to make this thing happen. This was not really a rivalry until Mizzou joined the conference, and they became the team that they wanted them playing every season. They call it the Battle Line Rivalry, which strikes me as like trying to make fetch happen.
Yeah.
And I will be just for shits and giggles, I'll be rooting hard for Sam Pittman to kick Mizzou's ass, because I like Sam Pittman and I don't like my sister-in-law Emily.
I like her, but I also like Sam Pittman.
Yeah, I was just kidding. I like Emily just fine. Emily's great, but Sam Pittman is better.
No.
All right.
No.
Moving on to the evening at 7:30, probably the game of the weekend from an objective standpoint. Number 3 Texas traveling to Texas A&M, favored by 5.5 points in what is a play-in game to the SEC championship, and in all likelihood, I would in a just world, it's also an elimination game for Texas. If Texas loses this game, they do not belong in the playoff picture. I know that they're ranked number 3 in the country and that they will not fall all the way out. And in fact, a loss here probably means they have to go play like Penn State or something like that in the first round of the playoffs. But losing this game means that they won't have any quality wins, really.
You're saying you would keep a 2-loss Texas out and potentially put in a 3-loss team in somehow, if they came to that? If that were the
I don't think it's necessarily going to come to that, unless A&M, like if A&M wins out, then they are guaranteed that spot, and that would be a 3-loss team in. I don't know necessarily that you have to leave out a 2-loss Texas and still sneak in like an Alabama or an Ole Miss or a South Carolina, do you?
No, I guess not. Yeah, but it just seems like, I don't know, they're already ranked 3rd, so if they lost,
I know they're in no matter what. Yeah. I'm fighting a losing battle.
In a just world,
here.
You're saying we don't live in such a world.
Right. I don't know how many of us have this game picked, but this is the most exciting game of the day.
I haven't done any of the picks.
Is there? I noticed that. Is there a rooting interest? Does it matter for like which of the two? I mean,
for Georgia, I would rather play Texas A&M.
Okay.
To be perfectly frank, I don't want to have to try to beat Texas twice in one season. That sucks ass. And I would, at this point, given that a win in the SEC championship game means that you're getting that bye, whereas a loss means you have to travel somewhere, and like not knowing where you have to travel. I would much rather just take the bye.
You spelled Oregon wrong. You spelled it Oregon.
Oh, in the Pick'em thing? Well, I apologize. You don't get the Google spreadsheet doesn't give you the little line when you screw things up.
No, you just have to pay attention.
Yeah.
That spell so
anyway,
shitty.
do you have a preference in terms of who Georgia is ultimately going to face?
I would rather just play the better team, but like you're right, beating a Texas team back to back in the same season is not ideal. So why not Texas A&M?
Is it possible? And it's not possible to knock Texas out with a big win in the SEC championship game, right? Like if they beat A&M and then they lose to us, and now two of their only 2 losses are to one of the best teams in the country, like they're definitely still going to be in the 12-team field.
So which would mean that possibly a 3rd
Right, which is what I called for at the beginning of the year. I called for it to be Alabama,
Yeah.
and I got that wrong. But that would be, I don't know, maybe at least that would put like a little bit of the absurdity to the current system, where you might have to end up playing the same team 3 fucking times in order to win a national title. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen there. I'll be rooting for Texas A&M to win also because...
You also spelled Florida wrong.
Look here now, lady. Do you want me to spend all of my time double-checking the spelling on the spreadsheet that no one's going to look at?
Time.
Although Florida's one of the easier ones to get, right?
And my name is in your wife's name.
Do you have any idea how quickly I type this thing out? I just
not
type
quickly
it.
enough.
Now I'm just gonna, as you're speaking, Bob, I'm just gonna read through this.
Why don't you both fuck off? All right, pop quiz, hot shot. Now that you're looking at something else, what current NFL kicker kicked the game winner as time expired the last time Texas and Texas A&M played? Because this is a rivalry that has stood the test of time for like a century, and then went away when Texas A&M elected to join the SEC.
If I had to guess, Justin Tucker.
A little bit to the left of center, but not far. Tucker will come on now. No more timeouts for either side. The game comes down to this play. Justin Tucker, the senior, on to try a 40-yard field goal out of the hold of Cade McCrary. The final play of the rivalry. Good snap and hold. Tucker's kick is up. Justin's kick is good! It's good! And the Texas Longhorns have won the final rivalry matchup with Texas A&M. Justin Tucker drives it home, and one last time, the Texas Longhorns break the hearts of the Aggies of Texas A&M.
Congratulations, Abe. You have successfully answered both pop quiz hot shots today.
Kablam! How dare you throw
Justin
this at me? If you were the player on the team that won it for the team, would you run away from the horde and risk like getting tackled and getting piled on, or just like you just embrace and then no one
stand and celebrate in place?
Yes, because
I think is the answer. Especially when you're a relatively slight human being compared to the gigantic football players who surround you.
Yeah.
Don't run away.
Yeah, because
they're going to catch you. They're going to pile upon you.
Humans are a smart sort compared to those animals that people are into. But even humans, when people run, like there's some sort of thing that people will then run after you, right? Like some sort of weird like instinct kicks in, and now all of this momentum, you can hurt yourself. There have been players that have like torn their ACL, some collarbone injury. I think there was like a Michigan State game where somebody ran it back and he got dogpiled and he like broke something. So it's like,
wasn't there a Georgia wide receiver who injured himself while doing that? Let's leap up into the air together and and bang shoulders or whatever. Yeah. And he tore his fucking ACL doing that.
Yeah. There actually should be like on YouTube, like a low light of like injuries caused by celebration.
Yes, you hoping that someone will compile all of the leg injuries into one place is not surprising.
It doesn't have to be a leg injury. Any injury will do.
Ari Wasserman had me excited for this game this week last year.
Texas A&M?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I have been looking forward to this because it's been promised to be great.
Yeah, it'll be good.
My favorite 15 minutes of podcasting this week was Ari and Andy's talk while they were watching the end of A&M Auburn. They were talking about all the rest of the games that had happened.
Yeah.
I'm going to send it to the chat because it's just a lovely watch. It's 15 minutes.
Well, I'll make sure there's a link to that in the show notes.
You don't need to watch it. I'm telling Abe.
Anyway, yeah, that should be a fun game. Lori, did you have a preference for who Georgia plays in the SEC championship the week after?
I mean, no, because I'm worried if we lose to Texas, that's less embarrassing. if we lose to A&M, could look worse.
I just don't think the committee is punishing anybody for losing.
What if we lose to Tech?
I mean, yeah, if we lose to Tech, then you have to win the next week.
If you
lose to Tech, you're not making the playoffs unless you win the SEC. So, anyway, also at 7 o'clock, it's another quad box. We've got Oklahoma -6 at LSU. That's a night game in Death Valley. Absolutely worth watching no matter what. And I just kind of want to see if the fact that Oklahoma now is imagine that 2 weeks ago. Oklahoma is, or before LSU lost to Florida, what do you think that this line would be?
It would.
Imagine Oklahoma has not just beaten Alabama at home, and LSU has not lost to Florida in the swamp.
I know.
That's you're probably looking at the exact opposite. You're probably looking at LSU is a touchdown favorite at home against Oklahoma. It's amazing how quickly the fortunes of those, or the expectations around those two teams have shifted. I think it'd be crazy to do anything but take LSU at home in that game. But that's why they build the palaces in the desert. After all,
you didn't pick them.
I know, but I didn't pick against them either. Also, 7 o'clock window, Kansas State +2.5 at Iowa State. Another game with various bearings upon the Big 12 championship game. I think Iowa State is the other team that has the best chance to get into the Big 12 championship game if certain things unfold the way that they are expected to. It will be Iowa State, Arizona State. That's the most likely scenario. Abe, why do you look so confused? What are you researching at the moment?
Okay, because you just threw me off with that Oklahoma LSU game. You said, because LSU is favorite by 6 at home. You're saying it would have been the other way?
Oh, are they favored?
Yeah, they're a 6-point favorite, at least right now.
Oh, I had written it down exactly wrong then.
Okay.
Well, you spelled Florida and Oregon wrong.
You're right. It's 5.5 points for LSU,
not your finest.
Okay. Yeah, because I think.
Look here, it's a short week. I was trying to fill out this fucking spreadsheet as quickly as possible. That's my bad.
But,
Oklahoma is +5.5, not -6.
But you do
on the road.
But you do
at LSU.
By the way, you do have that on the thing. Unless you change that also. You have plus.
No,
5.
I just wrote it down wrong in my.
Gotcha. Okay.
My list of the best game in every time slot, which is a ridiculous conceit considering that there are only 6 time slots and I've listed like 25 fucking games. But my apologies. Oklahoma catching 5.5 points on the road at Death Valley. That sounds more right to me.
Yeah.
All right, and then Kansas State +2.5 at Iowa State. Virginia -7 at Virginia Tech. This is another one of those rivalries like the Georgia Tech series. UVA has won just twice since 1999 in what was previously a fairly evenly matched rivalry. Virginia Tech has just fucking dominated for the last generation. And both teams are 5-6, which means this is an opportunity for one of them to make it to bowl eligibility and the other one simply to be done, which makes it even more higher stakes than usual. And then finally in that 7 o'clock window is Florida -14.5 in Tallahassee playing Florida State. That is a funny line. You would not have guessed after the first couple weeks of the season, despite Florida State getting off the way that they did, that Florida would be favored by 2 touchdowns against Florida State.
Yeah.
But Florida's come on here.
Or Florida.
Lately.
So the Florida State coach is not getting fired? He's because of the money thing?
They can't afford to.
You simply cannot afford to.
They
It's
fired
$60 million.
He fired both his assistants, I think.
Yeah, that'll fix it. Anyway, that's the first time this season, I believe, that I've had 3 in all 3 windows, the quad box for every single game. So that's 15 games that Cast Iron Balls believes are absolutely worth checking out. So if you can't find something to fucking do with your Saturday in terms of the television, I don't know what your fucking problem is.
Any chance we have a bizarro opposite of last week? Last week it looked like a bunch of duds and it was great, and then this week looks great. but it could turn out to be a dud.
It's not that's the thing. It doesn't necessarily look great. We're talking like out of all of these games, not a ton of them are like 1.5 to 3.5 point
but that's
games.
what Abe is saying is like Georgia could destroy Georgia Tech in an uninteresting way.
And
they could absolutely all be blowouts.
Clemson should be good. The Texas A&M game should be good. There's a couple of like games that should be good, but they could all just suck.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it'll be fun no matter what. That's the thing about rivalry weekend, because these games matter historically in terms of the accumulated hate that these programs all have for one another. And you get the stupid anecdotes about the different axes and the other trophies that they have that they can win.
It's so fun. It's so fun. This is my favorite week of the whole year, I think, because everybody at work talks about food, and there's like it's contentious. Like people feel very strongly about their Thanksgiving traditions, and then you get to the end of that, and then it's people feeling very strongly about their football traditions. And it's just so great. This is the best week.
I do wonder, I assume athletes are creatures of habit. And so for the Friday game, right? So Thursday, they're like in some hotel somewhere, wherever they're going to play. Like, do you think that they eat what they normally eat the night before?
Kirby said they're eating Thanksgiving
Or do you think
together.
they're eating Thanksgiving-related stuff like at the hotel? Do you think they change what they normally eat?
At the Kirby's, they're home.
No, I'm saying, but there's like a full slate of Friday games, right? So a lot of those teams.
No, but the dogs, even when the dogs are home, they go stay at the hotel the night before the game.
Yeah, but they're eating dinner together.
Actually, back in the day, I delivered for this Domino's in Lawrenceville, like 40 miles from Athens.
Right.
And the team on home games, like, even though they were playing in Athens, they would drive to hotels in Lawrenceville and get a bunch of pizzas. Yeah. And then they would just, I guess, like in the morning, just ride the bus back.
Do you know how hard it is to keep the co-eds away the night before a game?
Also, there's no hotels in town.
I guess they can't,
hotels are all full.
accommodate
I mean, if they
them.
wanted the hotel,
if they wanted
could
to
book
stay
a
in
hotel.
Charlottesville, they could. Plenty of rooms here during a home game.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, now time to move on to the CIB Pick'em game. Let's get these picks done quickly because we have been going
another
for
pie to make.
quite some time. Cousin Steve got his picks in earlier today. Thank you, Steve. Penn State minus 24.5 points at home against Maryland. This would be like an all-time egg laid by James Franklin. I mean, and obviously they're not going to lose this game to Maryland, who's a very bad football team. But they are effectively playing this. You could count this basically as an elimination game for Penn State. Also, if they win this game, they're hosting a playoff game, which is fairly fucking awesome.
I don't expect it, but it would be hilarious if they were to somehow lose.
Louisville, he's got Louisville minus the 3.5 at Kentucky. He doesn't believe in the lesser Stoops, which is foolish, Steve, if you know anything about history. And then he's picking all three of the Thursday NFL games. He's got the Lions minus 10.5. He believes the Giants are going to be the outright winners in Jerry World. And then he's got the Packers minus 3.5. So we will know, Steve will know by late Thursday night whether or not he's had a good evening or a good week in the CIB Pick'em game. He's still got a chance to catch Lori.
Good.
So that
what a prize.
I mean, somebody's going to have to get the caboose. Maybe the prize here is we're going to find some sort of CIB caboose to send out to the loser every season.
It's going to live at your house if it's me.
Yeah, if it's you, it's going to live here. All right, Lori, what games are you picking this weekend?
What games am I picking? USC Notre Dame. I think USC can win that. I think it would be funny. Ooh. So I hope that happens. And then I just picked a bunch of underdogs.
Lori's got all underdogs this week.
Because I did this very quickly, and that's it. That was a way of deciding. So Kansas State at Iowa State. Because why not? Why not? It's the same team. Those are the same team playing each other. A&M, because they're home. It'd be funny. Minnesota, because Minnesota, again, these are the same teams. We're looking at Minnesota and Wisconsin are the same state. They get in-state tuition at each other's states.
Oh, they have some sort of reciprocity there? Mm-hmm, oh, nice.
They do. So, that's the same state.
It's the relative body fat percentage.
No, it's because they're so nice.
If you are made up of in excess of 40% cheese, then you can get in-state tuition at either Minnesota or Wisconsin. You just have to be made up of
Staying in the Midwest,
at least
Nebraska.
40% cheese.
Nebraska at Iowa. The end.
All right, so Lori's got 5 underdogs outright winners for a potential total of 50 points. She is desperate to not give up her position as not the caboose, and with a strong week can likely secure that third place position. Abe, who you got this weekend?
I got Georgia Tech keeping it honest. They're going to lose, but maybe not by that much. Vanderbilt winning outright. I have a good feeling about this one. Vanderbilt should win. Tennessee is going to.
I like your balls, Abe.
I see somebody who does not have them. I think.
Yep, you're correct.
SMU is going to continue to ride this team. I got off the Ole Miss bandwagon many weeks ago. Now I'm on this SMU bandwagon. Hasn't failed me yet. And then switching over to the NFL front on Sunday, we'll continue to bet against my Colts, even though they're playing
Why are the Colts a road underdog or a road favorite to anyone?
Yeah, because that anyone suck, right? The Patriots are just dreadful.
But the Patriots have won a couple of weird games this season that they should not have won, as I recall, right?
Yeah, and this should be
That's
one of them.
not how you're favored at things.
Yeah, so this is an easy 10 points.
I was going to pick the Patriots here, but I knew that you were going to pick the Patriots, and I didn't want to look like I was just trying to ride the same train that you're riding, so I stayed away from it.
And despite my thinking highly of Joe Burrow, and he's playing well, the Bengals are dreadful. Steelers, good opportunity for them to win after last week's loss. I got the Steelers.
Yeah, those are good picks. I like most of your picks, which means things are going to go poorly for you.
As usual.
I've also got Georgia Tech covering that rather large number at 19.5 points. I don't see Georgia blowing Tech out this week. I will be very surprised if we lose, obviously, and it will hurt a great deal to lose to Georgia Tech. But oddly enough, the fact that they can't actually deny us the playoff makes me think it's less likely that we're going to lose to them.
Yeah.
Right? So in a weird way, because the stakes are a little bit lower than they otherwise could be, I'm not as scared of this game as I would have been if it were the case that we were not in the SEC championship game,
Right.
which we obviously are. But I think that's an insane number based on what we saw last week and what we've seen against other,
It's weird.
like Jalen Milroe and other mobile quarterbacks, like sort of what they do
Haynes
there.
King might not be playing.
Yeah, I did look.
Oh, he's
or
gonna
not
play.
be. Well, he might not be healthy.
Yeah, I wonder if it's got to be something like that, right? Like, 'cause that is a pretty big number.
It's a crazy number.
Another
I
thing
don't
in
get
our
it.
favor is that Haynes King came from A&M. He's not a Georgia Tech guy.
Yeah, I don't think that.
I don't think he hates us like he should.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, I've got South Carolina winning outright. That's the only time I'm not taking advantage of the points this week is this South Carolina Clemson game. South Carolina's been really good, and Clemson, where I thought that they might have gotten right in the middle third of the season, might actually just be kind of fraudulent.
They were just playing
after all.
shitty teams. When did you change your mind about South Carolina? Because you were giving me shit for saying that they were good.
It's not that I don't think that they're pretty good. I just don't think that they're I think it is sort of crazy that, but for that game against LSU that they lost because of referee bullshit, they have a very strong argument, and in all likelihood would be in Tennessee's position.
But when did you change your mind? Because it was just a week ago that you were like, nah.
Look, Lori, this is a fucking this is sports talk we're doing here. We don't care
I want
about
to know
what
when
has
you
come
changed
before.
your mind.
South Carolina's a pretty good team. I can't deny that any longer. They've won a bunch of games. That quarterback is actually pretty good. The only games that they've lost they lost barely to Alabama and to LSU. I'm just taking their team in with its wholeness and its fullness, a holistic look at their entire season, and I can no longer deny that they're a pretty good team.
They clobbered Oklahoma, clobbered Texas A&M, clobbered Vanderbilt, and then they eked out a win against Minnesota.
They got blown out against Ole Miss. That's the only thing that they've done wrong this season. They should have beaten Alabama, and they should have beaten LSU. Give me Vanderbilt plus the 10.5. I expect that they will keep this game close. I don't have that level of faith anymore. They've looked a little bit beat up the last couple times out. like a healthy and full of energy and life Diego Pavia maybe hangs on and beats LSU last week.
Yeah.
But he sort of looks like he's taken too much of a beating at this point, and he every time you watch him play, he's out there getting fucking trammeled into the ground, and I don't know that they can do to Tennessee what needs to be done, but it would be fucking fantastic, and I will be rooting hard for it to happen. Then give me Syracuse plus 10.5 against Miami, and Texas A&M plus the 5.5 against Texas. And those are my 5 games for the weekend, which means it is now time to move on to Jimmy Carter's Presidential Lock of the Week, live from the Plains.
Hello and happy Thanksgiving to my dear friends at Cast Iron Balls, and even to you, Abe, you sick son of a bitch. I just adore this holiday. I must say, good food, good drink, and most importantly, good company. As I always say, are the only ingredients you need to have a wonderful time, and Thanksgiving provides all of those in abundance. I even find myself appreciating my good-for-nothing grandson Jason on a day so beautiful as today, because seeing his stupid face puts me in mind of my dearly departed wife Rosalind, who always reminded me that the good Lord above commanded us to love unconditionally, and that true love can even contain within it hate, for to love God is to also hate what he hates, like Jason. Speaking of hate, this Thanksgiving, I'm especially grateful to you, Abe, for your ongoing campaign against the fact of my ongoing life. My spite for you has been profound and life-affirming, and for that, I deeply appreciate you. Also, feel free to choke on a turkey leg, you bastard. Also, speaking of hate, how about some of the plain, old-fashioned variety tea? The North Avenue Trade School nerds travel to Athens this Friday, and while I don't expect them to win, because of course Tech sucks, I expect a relatively close game. Georgia has given up an awful lot of yards on the ground, and often struggles with running quarterbacks. 19.5 points is an awful lot of points, and the Dogs are just 3-8 against the spread this season, and just 1-6 against the number when they're favored by double digits. So give me the Jackets to cover if the Bulldogs will win, and we'll see you in Atlanta for the conference championship. What's that coming down the track? A mean machine in red and black with dogs sick in rectangle. Please do enjoy this best of all the American holidays, and of course the games, with good food and drink, and most importantly, good company. Until next week, this is Jimmy from Plains for Cast Iron Balls.
Looks like Jimmy and Abe and I are all on the same side of this Georgia Tech game this weekend.
By the way, this is the week of Thanksgiving. A lot of hate from Jimmy this week. What's going on? First of all, no turkey leg for me, so I'm not going to choke. No choking hazards on my end, so how dare you. But also, I do like shitting on the grandson. That guy that shit.
I heard you, I believe the most recent episode of The Biffler, calling for Jimmy Carter to die again.
No, how dare you. No, I did not say that. I said he held on for too long. That's totally different than wishing it. Like, he could have had a dignified state funeral with all the people, but now he's going to have, like, hamburgers at his funeral because Trump is going to be the guy running it, although that's not how it works. I was joking about that. That's the gist of my dig at old Jimmy. I'm not wishing him ill. Not anymore. That moment has passed.
I'm pretty sure that if I dig through that fucking 3.5 hour monstrosity, I'm going to find you basically calling for him to die once again.
Good luck.
You've been listening to Cast Iron Balls, a podcast about sports with Bob and Abe. Lori's here too, and so are the children. Come here, children, and say,
"Aw, the children!
Happy Thanksgiving."
Come say Happy Thanksgiving. Come here, say it to the microphone.
Are you going to put this on the podcast?
Probably.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Good night.
Good night. I love you. You can find more from us at our Substack, brainiron.substack.com. We are, of course, grateful to each and every one of you who have subscribed at the website brainiron.substack.com, and we will continue to produce a ceaseless amount of content. Too much, some might even say. Far too much content, I believe, is the complaint from some listeners and co-hosts of other podcasts who will go nameless, except to say that fuck you, Binyam. Also, check out tetramermusic.com, Tetramer music.com for more from Mark Gillig, who has written and performed our opening and closing themes. Abe, anything else in the world of sport that caught your eye this week?
There's this doctor out of China who moonlights as a MMA fighter, with the kicking and the punching.
He has the approval of the Chinese Communist government to do all of this?
She does. This woman who's a fighter. How dare you?
Look, you hit me. You hit me with
Bob.
You hit me with
Bob.
not only a doctor,
Amazing.
but an MMA
Happy
fighter
Thanksgiving, everybody.
from China. That's a triple fucking whammy. A Chinese doctor and MMA fighter. What percentage of the
I can't
population?
operate on this child. He's my son. But how?
What percentage of the population would be able to say, "Oh yes, tell me more about her"?
Anyway,
I submit to you, it is a vanishingly small percentage of the population who is politically committed to a worldview, not someone approaching the question honestly.
you're probably right. Ming Shi is her name. Anyways, she is a...
She, it's in her name. She.
Yes. She goes by the name of Dr. Sleep because she's, very formidable opponent. She kicked...
Also Stephen King fan?
She kicked...
Yeah, big Stephen King fan.
So she kicked somebody into unconsciousness, right? A very brutal knockout. And in the post-press conference thing, she revealed that her parents do not know that she's a fighter. She's withholding some information from them because they would not approve of this, this fighting thing. Like, she's like a respected doctor. But I was thinking, if you were a patient of hers, would you want your doctor to be getting clobbered upside the face and the head? And
no.
Right? So it seemed like...
I want my doctor as infrequently concussed as possible.
Because it seems like you should be also withholding that from your patients. But she's on TV. I mean, she's like, my parents live in the village. I don't know much about the lay of the land in China, but apparently there are a lot of villages and they don't have cable. And so they're not aware of her fights, even though I'm aware of her fights here in America. But her patients, I'm sure somebody will know, hey, doctor, what the fuck? You just got beaten up last week. I don't know if I can trust your diagnosis today.
I assume you have some sort of long-form journalism about this individual that you can pass along so that we can put it in the show note?
Yes.
Okay.
And it'll be a picture. It'll be a woman. It would be very clear. Yeah.
Lori, how about you? Anything else from the world of sports catch your eye?
No, just that snippet I sent to you guys.
I was reading an article in The Athletic, headline, How Jared Goff Hitting Rock Bottom Became His and the Detroit Lions' Salvation, which I found amusing in a number of ways. Primarily, I'm a known and long time Jared Goff skeptic, would be a kind way of putting it. Perhaps a less kind way would be to say I'm a Jared Goff hater. But there's something about the highly drafted, tall, and seemingly talentless quarterbacks who have long careers
Matt Stafford?
That always gets me. No, not Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford was appropriately drafted and had a long and successful career and probably should have had more titles than he ended up with, but for the fact that he was with the wretched Lions during one of their fairly consistent, terrible time periods. Anyway, Ryan Tannehill is the prime example of guys who stick around in the league way longer than they should, despite being blatant mediocrities. Jared Goff has really turned things around these last couple of years. But there were a couple of lines in this article that stood out to me. The first one, talking about how Jared Goff gets traded and he's down in the dumps, of course, because Matt Stafford then goes on to win a Super Bowl with his former team the very next season.
Remarkable,
right?
wasn't it? I mean, basically, they were on the cusp of a Super Bowl. He gets traded to like Siberia, might as well.
Right. Goff, in fact, played in a Super Bowl in his.
that's right.
Was it his rookie season or his second season?
Yeah, that's right.
I think it was his rookie season that he played in a Super Bowl. And McVay, the child prodigy coach, was like, "This fucking dummy can't hack it. We got to get rid of this fucking dunce and give me somebody who can play the position." And he ships him off to Detroit, and he gets Stafford in return. McVay, he'd done it. This is a quote from the article. McVay had done it in his first season with Matthew Stafford, the Lions' longtime starting quarterback, who'd been swapped out for Goff. In dating terms, Goff had been dumped by his partner and was now eating ice cream alone on the couch while watching the ex escort a radiant new flame up the red carpet. Now, in dating terms, what this writer is saying is that Goff had been dumped by an ex and now was eating ice cream alone on the couch watching the ex escort a radiant new flame up the red carpet. That's not dating terms, right? So I submit to you that this sentence originally included Goff alone on the couch eating ice cream, watching video of his ex getting plowed on the television, right? This was originally, because that would be more appropriately speaking in dating terms. Like what he's mixed the metaphor. He's gone like,
Yeah, it doesn't quite work.
because he's mixed the
But
metaphor
I
because
wouldn't
it's
jump to the.
it's Los Angeles, and so he's on the red carpet or whatever. But that just confuses things. I
Yeah.
think that this was submitted to
No,
the
it's what
Athletic.
it is it's like seeing them on social media dating someone new.
Right.
Maybe, or the way that I would construct
I think
the
that the way
sentence
you're doing it is a bit far.
is probably a bit much. But it strikes me as a poorly written metaphor, and he was probably talking about Jared Goff watching his ex get slammed by Matt Stafford. There's one other line in this lengthy profile in The Athletic that I think is worth reading, just because challenge your expectations, challenge your understandings about people out there in the world, I think is a good way to approach things. This is a quote from Goff. "It's like you squeeze so hard, and the actual answer is to release," Goff explained last week while sitting in an upstairs room of his Bloomfield Hills, Michigan home, which doubles as a film-watching sanctuary and memorabilia alcove. "It's like you squeeze so hard, and the actual answer is to release." Sounds like advice for anyone sitting on the toilet, in my opinion. So that's Jared Goff explaining that playing quarterback is just like taking a dump, which actually I think explains a great deal about Jared Goff's career. Anyway, an enjoyable profile in The Athletic. There will be a link in the show note at brainiron.substack.com. Abe, have you got anything else for us tonight?
Nope.
Well, I guess that's all we've got for you tonight then, and we will talk to you next time.
Later.
Stable condition hours after announcing his death.
Yeah.
Very much like Mr. Burns when he was sent to a better hospital and his condition improved to alive.
He announced his own death?
I think somebody fucked up the announcement. I think they used his account to announce it, obviously.
Oh, this is an injury during a game?
It's weird because this is from this is the article's from today, but this is from October, the injury. Very weird. He suffered it back in October.
Wow.
It's a very lengthy death.
Yikes. Anyway, what's the weather for tomorrow?
It's fine. It's nice weather.
All right, no rain. Not going to have my vat of oil rained upon. Lori was trying to get me to fry turkeys for the whole neighborhood. She wanted me to post on Facebook, hey, we've got a vat of oil if you want my husband to fry your turkey for you.
I did want that. He didn't do it.
I'm not going to do it.
Not a one-off, though, like once you commit to it 1 year. Every year. Hey, Bob, what's up?
Exactly. This year we're frying our 2 turkeys and like 2 neighbors' turkeys. And then by 2030, there's like 45 people lined up down the sidewalk trying to get their turkeys fried.
I like money. I'm sorry.
Money? This was going to be, I was going to charge people to fry their turkeys?
No, but in the future.
No, this would just result in a lot of homeless lined up.
I have a very keen eye and concern for the homeless, Bob.
No, I just know what happens. If you leave cat food out on the porch overnight, what's going to happen? You're going to get a bunch of cats on your porch.
That's right.
You fry a bunch of turkeys in the yard, here come the homeless.
That's right.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, you guys enjoy Thanksgiving.
Ah, yes, you too.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Happy Thanksgiving.
The proceeding was created with 100% human content.